Sustek, and you're with me at the Art in Uncommon Places warehouse in downtown San Angelo. Come on in and take a look at all the creative stuff we got cooking in here. In San Angelo, this place is known as the Chic Warehouse, the Mosaic Tile Warehouse, and now it's coming to be known as the Cowboy Birthplace. It's where I'm working on a cowboy monument for downtown and also coming up with ideas for future commissions. And so I'd like to take you through this kind of hive of creativity and show you a little bit about what's going on and my idea for the Cynthia Woods Mitchell Memorial. Come on back. You might see the fantastic French curves of Dick and Jane that are 12 feet tall, and they're going into Bell Street Park in San Angelo. All plasma cut steel in primary colors by Sue Rainey and Julie Raymond. And that's one of the projects sponsored by Art in Uncommon Places. These art cars have been a 5-year endeavor to involve the public in building and creating pieces of public art that'll go in the parks of San Angelo. And a different artist designed each of these cars. Here we have a Dia de los Muertos themed car on the 49 Ford. It's a beautiful thing in the sun. Texas wildflowers adorn this truck body, which is also a functional park bench. It basically takes thousands of man-hours to create one of these cars. Ultimately, there will be 7 placed down along the Concho River. Having grown up in Houston, I was intrigued by the idea of a memorial for Mrs. Mitchell because I knew she was a lover of the arts. And my parents have lived in the Woodlands for about the past 15 years. So I've enjoyed the park-like setting every time I've taken the kids out there. I've enjoyed concerts at the Cynthia Woods Mitchell Pavilion. And I knew that to provide an adequate memorial for Mrs. Mitchell would have to be nothing less than epic. I wanted to talk a little bit about the difference between a funerary bust or monument and a memorial sculpture or structure. A funerary bust will commemorate a person, but it's sort of focused on death, on them not being here anymore, and on the persona itself. And it's typically just a simple likeness of the individual. A memorial, rather, commemorates and celebrates as a much more joyous structure, and I think that would be more appropriate for Mrs. Mitchell. Her likeness would not be found anywhere in the structure, but her essence and life work would be. The things she loved to celebrate and enjoy are all here. Things botanical and lyrical and musical and architectural in a park-like setting with the 4 seasons in bronze surrounding an enormous open wisteria arbor. You couldn't help but feel anything but life and beauty when you're in such a setting. So the idea for the Mitchell Memorial would be a large open structure that's a wisteria arbor composed of steel, flanked by 4 2.5 times life-size bronze statues of the 4 seasons. And they would embody her love of ballet, symphony, the opera, lyrical movement, life. The central focus of the memorial would be her favorite quote by Robert Burns. And an observer in the memorial would see the quote as he or she faces south towards Galveston. And it reads, "The best laid plans of mice and men oft gang neglect." We can't control everything about this life, but Mrs. Mitchell sure did an amazing job of making it more beautiful for many, many people. Take a look at the upper part of the structure. Now, it would take years for the wisteria to grow from the 4 corners and make its way up towards the oculus. But an observer standing in the center of the memorial could look up and see open sky through this oculus. Working with Craig Kinney, who's a local architect from Houston, practicing in San Angelo, we came up with ideas that would incorporate something structural and botanical and some sculptures that would represent the things that Mrs. Mitchell loved. And it's a fairly Beaux-Art type structure with a modern twist. Simplified steel forms, open arches, and of course the oculus. It's really a grand plaza flanked by four stylized female muses representing the four seasons. Presuming this is in a park-like setting, there would be no benches in the memorial itself, just an open space, flanked by an enormous circle of decomposed granite that fades into the grass. Outboard, in areas with trees, there could be benches, maybe 100 feet away from the structure. This is scalable, so that if you want to imagine a smaller size memorial, you take out this observer and put in a different one. And that gives you an entirely different flavor, entirely different feel for what the memorial could be. The general idea is to have stone carver who's a native San Angeloan named Davis Cornell. He is the most gifted stone carver I've ever seen. Practices in Dallas. Davis would carve magnolia blossoms and leaves into these limestone pillars. The seasons themselves would be bronze with a patina of choice, most likely dark to contrast with the bright green wisteria with purple and pink blossoms that would fill this space. Dark steel with a Kynar 500 coating that would enable it to stand up to years of outdoor exposure. And simple stained concrete squares would provide the grid that ties it all together. Quite simply a structure of grace and beauty, simplicity and fun and life and liveliness. Mrs. Mitchell was a big lover of the ballet, and the inspiration for the Four Seasons bronzes on the pillars comes from the prima ballerina. Long, lithe, lyrical, but I thought that tutu might be a little distracting and just did my own take on dancing figures. They could represent the Four Seasons, they can represent muses, sources of inspiration, bearers of glad tidings. And they're fairly stylized nudes, but we have options in terms of drapery. And just to illustrate, with this figure called La Paloma, you can see the way the drapery clings to the body. Something similar can be done on that scale that would not interfere with the lines of the body, but would still clothe the figures in a simple way. So thanks for listening, and I hope to have the opportunity to come to Houston and visit the site and tell you more about my ideas. Thanks.